That brings me to the House Speaker Johnson, reportedly teeing up another Ukraine aid package. Political insiders say it's a certainty, no matter how many Americans insist our government secure the homeland through constitutional means first. Joining me now to discuss is Texas State Representative Brian Harrison, along with Missouri State Senator Bill Eigel. Gentlemen, welcome. We have to talk to you guys because members of Congress don't give a damn what we say anymore. Senator Eigel, I'll start with you. Speaker Johnson visited with Eric Bolling on the balance, revealing this about this proposed aid package. Watch.
We passed H.R. 2, our comprehensive border security measures.
Yeah, but sir, no, I don't mean to interrupt. I don't mean to be rude or interrupt, but that's been on Chuck Schumer's desk for 350 days. That's not going away. My concern is that anything new going forward would be without the border. I think a lot of Americans would feel the same way. Final thought on that one before we move on.
No, well, we're trying to keep that all together, and that's been the stipulation from the very beginning. We've been very consistent with the White House and everybody involved. The president has executive authority right now, Eric, as you know, to fix the border, and he refuses to use it.
All right, well, it was not that bill was not attached to a must-pass bill, but Joe Biden is already breaking U.S. law, and no Republican has stopped him for over 3 years. So, Senator, first, doesn't any aid package have to be conditions-based to force the federal government to finally do its job? And what can the states do to defend our people because the federal government has given up on doing so?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I think there are a tremendous number of folks across this country that are very disappointed at the lack of action of Republicans in Washington, D.C. And I hate to say this, but it feels like it's been a theme going on with Republicans every time they're put into power in Washington, D.C. And I tell you what, we've got a name for these folks that are saying one thing in campaign season, even if the campaign season is when somebody's running for Speaker of the House up there in D.C., but then they do something else once they get into office. Or into a position of power. We call them rhinos. And the rhino problem we have up in Washington, D.C., we've actually got that problem here in the state of Missouri. And to your second part of your question, what can the states do? Well, I'll tell you what, we've got legislation here in the state of Missouri where we're going to make it a state level crime to be here in the state of Missouri illegally, violating our immigration laws. We know that other states like Texas have already taken the right step in the right direction on this. But I long ago stopped thinking that solutions for our country and our states were going to come out of Washington, D.C. So we're going to take action here at the state level. And by the way, I'm running for governor, and I've got a plank and a platform as part of my message is that when I'm in the governor's chair, we're going to entertain a policy called detain and deport in the state of Missouri, where if you're here illegally, which makes you a criminal, by the way, you're not going to be allowed to stay. We're going to take you outside the borders of our state.
Well, to paraphrase Ronald Reagan, Washington isn't the solution to our problem. They are the problem. Representative Harrison, while Congress rushes to aid Ukraine, our borders remain wide open, as you know, and Texas suffers greatly because of this. And illegal alien crime is off the charts. Here's Team Biden twisting President Trump's words, saying he wants to round up Latinos and deport them. First, Trump never said Latinos. He's targeting illegal aliens. The latest data is showing that the number of communist China nationals encountered at the San Diego border sector has exceeded that of Mexican citizens so far this year. Isn't it racist of Joe Biden and the Democrats to assume that if it's illegal, it must be Latino? And isn't it also true that illegal is a legal status, not a race?
Well, Democrats, they're not just the America Last party these days. These are the great gaslighters of our country, trying to convince people like you, people like me, people who are actual conservatives, people who believe in Dr. Martin Luther King's message of a colorblind society where people are judged on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. These are the people that will not stop trying to do everything they can to divide Americans along racial lines and pit one group against another. Donald Trump wasn't saying anything that was racist. Donald Trump was saying probably one of the most unifying things from any future past or president that a president could say, which is he wants to protect the country and do one of the few things that our founders charged the federal government with doing in our Constitution, which is to secure the border. Democrats are America Last. They want open borders. They want to fundamentally remake this country. We've got Democrats in the Senate working overnight, through the night. Hardest I've seen the Senate work in a long time to do what? To secure our borders? No, because they're more concerned about another country's borders than they are America's borders. We've got Republicans in the House not willing to use the one tool they've got, the power of the purse, to force a completely lawless and out of control Joe Biden administration and federal government into securing the border. So it's more incumbent upon the states. I'm proud to have supported a recent new law here in the state of Texas where we're making it for the first time ever a state crime to illegally enter this country. Because, by the way, your viewers should know this. For every one illegal alien that Joe Biden illegally lets in this country, he's breaking federal law at least 3 times. So if you take the low number of just 6 million crossings, we know it's higher. That means Joe Biden has violated federal law at least 18 million times. And what does this lawless president have the audacity to do every time the state of Texas puts up a barrier or passes a new law to secure the border, doing his job for him? He sues us. He takes us to court. He takes down our barrier. Joe Biden is trying to destroy this country. It's a shame. And more Republicans need to get in the fight and fight as hard for the next generation as the Democrats in D.C. are.
Gentlemen, I've only got about 30 or 40 seconds for each of you on these next 2 questions, and I got to get through both of them. So, look, I think foreign policy is all of our business. Here's U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken vowing that Ukraine is going to join NATO. Listen.
We reaffirm that Ukraine's future is in NATO. Our goal now is to create a bridge to Ukraine's full membership, offering additional support and greater cooperation as Ukraine makes the reforms necessary to join the alliance.
Wow. Anybody that's been paying attention knows this is exactly what Russia has been complaining about, NATO expansion. Instead of working to make, I don't know, Russia part of NATO to secure everybody's borders, the regime seems to be pushing World War III. Senator, incredibly reckless, no?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've gotten far too used to the Biden administration making disastrous decisions when it comes to foreign policy, and this is another one. You're absolutely right. They're taking every step they possibly can to move our country towards World War III, whether it's with Russia or beyond that. And this is a disaster. Until we have somebody like Donald J. Trump back in the White House protecting America's interests overseas, we're going to continue to see just a disaster coming out of Washington, D.C. And I continue to pray for our country that we're going to make it to November of this year.
Representative Harrison, I wanted you to touch on a controversy surrounding left-wing Texas Senator John Cornyn. This article from the Daily Caller highlighting how the swamp loves John Cornyn, but Texas, yeah, not so much. You're quoted in this piece saying, quote, Texans deserve senators who will fight for them against the D.C. swamp, which is why I filed a bill to allow Texas to recall senators if they go rogue, as John Cornyn has. Tell us more about what I've dubbed the John Cornyn accountability law you're pitching.
Well, listen, I think that the 17th Amendment has perhaps done irreparable harm to the founders' vision of our republic, where the states are sovereign and created the federal government to do only a few enumerated things. And so we had 2 chambers, one, the House of Representatives to represent the people directly, but number 2, the Senate was supposed to be the gathering of the ambassadors of the states to make sure that the senators were there to protect the interests of the sovereign states and as a check on the growth of federal government and their encroachments in our freedoms and liberties. And so while us in here in Texas as one state, obviously we can't undo an amendment to the Constitution, I think, and I know you do as well, we need to start coming up with creative and bold solutions to solve federal problems. And look, we can't undo the 17th Amendment that allowed for the direct election of U.S. senators. Perhaps when our senators, if they go to D.C., they sell out to the swamp, they start growing government at rates that are unacceptable, and not looking out for the interests, the rights, the freedoms, and liberties of individual Texans, us, through our legislature, should be able to recall our U.S. senators when they go rogue. I look forward to refiling that bill when our legislature convenes next year as well.
And John Cornyn has a track record of betraying Texans on multiple votes, multiple levels. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Representative Brian Harrison and Senator Bill Eigel, thank you very much, gentlemen.